Chomish goes fishing. One of the stations on Chomish's branch line was near a river. As Chomish, Annie, and Clarabelle crossed the bridge, they would see people fishing. Some would be sitting in rowboats, others on the bank. Sometimes they were sitting still and silent with their lines. Other times they were wrestling fish out of the water. Chomish wished he could stay and watch, but Charlie said, "No, what would Sir Topham Hatt say if we were late?" Chomish longed to just sit on the bridge. "I should like to go fishing," he would say to anyone who would listen. And everyone, Charlie, Sid, Lizzie, Annie, Clarabelle, and the big engines all had the same answer. Engines don't go fishing. One day, Chomish stopped at the river station. He often took on water here, but today, when his crew put the hose pipe into his tank and turned the tap, they found that the water tower was out of order. "Bother," said Chomish. "I'm thirsty." "I have an idea," said Sid, uncoupling Chomish from his coaches. "We'll go get some water from the river." He found a bucket and a coil of rope. Charlie drove Chomish away from the station onto the bridge and stopped. Then he lowered the bucket down into the water, let it fill up, and hoisted it up. He passed it to Sid, who poured the water into Chomish's tank and handed the bucket back to Charlie. The bucket was old and had some holes in it, so they had to fill it up, pull it up, and empty it into the tank as quickly as they could. "There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, sang Sid. "Never mind about Liza," said Charlie. "Just you dump that water out, you're getting me soaked." They repeated the process several times over as quickly as they could, and soon Chomish had enough water in his tanks to get them to the next station. "That's better," he puffed as Charlie reversed him back to the river station. He enjoyed his rest on the bridge. He was soon coupled to Annie and Clarabelle. Lizzie blew a whistle, and Chomish set off with Annie and Clarabelle running happily behind him. They crossed the bridge, puffed along the valley, and had just entered a tunnel when Chomish felt a pain in his boiler. Steam was hissing from his safety valve in an alarming way. "There's too much steam," said Charlie. Sid turned the injector tap to let more water into the boiler. But none came. "Oh dear," groaned Chomish as the train hissed out of the tunnel. "I'm going to burst." His crew jamped down his fire, and they struggled on. "I've got such a pain," Chomish hissed as he crawled to the next station. They stopped just beyond the platform, uncoupled Annie and Clarabelle, and moved Chomish into a siding out of the way. Chomish was still hissing fit to burst as Sid put out his fire. Lizzie went to fetch an inspector. Charlie told the station master what was happening, and the station master gave him a large notice board to set up next to Chomish. It said, "Danger, keep away." Chomish began to feel a little better as I arrived with the inspector. "Cheer up, Chomish," I said. "We'll soon put you right." His crew told us what had happened. "So the feed pipe is blocked," said the inspector. "I'll just have a look in the tanks." He climbed up, peered into one of Chomish's tanks, and then came back down. He looked confused. "Sir," he said to me, "could you please look in the tank and tell me what you see?" "Certainly, Inspector," I replied. I clambered up and looked in. I nearly fell off. Something splashed water in my face. "Well?" asked the inspector. "What do you see?" "Fish," I replied. "Goodness me, how did the fish get in there?" "Oh, he must have fished them from the river," said Charlie, and he told us about the broken water tower and the bucket with the holes in it. "Sure, Chomish," I laughed. "You've been fishing. But fish don't suit you. We must get them out." The station master brought us some rods and tackle, and they all took turns fishing in Chomish's tank. I watched, but didn't take part. "My doctor has forbidden me to fish," I told them. "I wish I'd seen your doctor," puffed Chomish. At last they caught all the fish. The station master brought us potatoes and beer. Sid gave his shovel a cleaning and used it to cook in Chomish's furnace, which was still hot. Then we all had a lovely picnic supper of fish and chips. "That was lovely," I said as I finished my fourth helping. "But fishing doesn't suit you, Chomish, so you mustn't do it again." "No, sir, I won't," said Chomish. "Engines don't go fishing. It's too dangerous."